Hey everyone, day 10 of the journey. Today we're going to talk about the main character of my novel Wild River, and his name is Bandas Riverman. Bandas comes from a humble background. You see, in the world of Wild River, this fantasy world is based on 1860s America. And there's a city called Wild River, and it's kind of a mixture of New Orleans and New York. And of course there was slavery in this area, and there was a big war that they called the Slave War, and that ended up resulting in the freeing of the slaves. And Bandas, this character, was born into slavery. He was born a slave. So as from his earliest years, he lived on a plantation. He worked in the fields, but he was kind of like Frederick Douglass in the sense that he learned to read and write in secret. And as he obtained his freedom with the end of the slave war, he went and he wanted to become a policeman, but his application to the police force was denied because he was a former slave. There's still prejudice against former slaves. So he became a private investigator, and as a private investigator, first he started doing things like helping to spy on spouses and things like that. But then he got a case where he had to go after a serial killer called the Wolfman, and that actually happens before the novel begins. But he helped to catch the Wolfman, and that got him some notoriety, and then people started coming to him with other jobs. And so in the beginning of Wild River, we see something interesting happen. Someone goes missing. Her name is Solana Carpenter. The first interesting thing about her is she's kind of a no one. She's a factory worker. But then the second interesting thing about her is that not only did someone abduct her even though she was a no one, 3 different people come to Bandas separately seeking his help to find Solana. And as the story unfolds, you start to see what the motivations were for these 3 different people and why they came to Bandas. And it creates a bit of a mystery. Why did all of these people want help to find Solana? But anyway, Bandas, he's a very private person, but he's a very observant person. He has a certain deep feeling of guilt for things that he's done in the past that he's ashamed of. And you see that in the story. He's a person he's flawed, he's imperfect, he cares about other people. This is the kids playing in the background. He cares about other people, but he makes some poor decisions sometimes. And one of the big themes of the story is him coming to grips with that and dealing with his guilt for these things that he has done. And he's trying to achieve a certain forgiveness, or restitution, by doing things such as finding Solana. And he's an interesting guy because he likes to test people. He likes to say things that maybe make people uncomfortable, that would cause an emotional response, because that's when he can see what people really are. And so it's an interesting thing in that he is a guy who is kind of bottles up his own emotions and does not present them very often to other people, and yet he intentionally tries to get other people to emote. And even though he's kind of manipulative a little bit in that sense, he still cares about other people. He's still very, very sympathetic, empathetic. And another interesting thing about his backstory is that before before the novel starts, he was a soldier in the slave war. He was promised that he would get his freedom if he fought on the pro-slavery side of the slave war, and so he agreed to do that. And that's actually one of the things that he is ashamed of, that he feels guilt for, because he feels that was the wrong thing to do. But of course the war ended in the freeing of the slaves anyway. So yeah, that's a little bit about Bandas. He's an interesting character. I feel there are certain aspects of him that are similar to me, certain aspects of him that are not so similar to me, but I like him a lot despite his imperfections, and I hope that my readers will too. Anyway, so subscribe for more. I'll be talking more about my novel about my characters, about my process in writing. I'll be telling you more about the progress of the novel as it develops. And yeah, see you in the next video.